contest sign-up season is here, and you don't want to miss out on the action. With millions of dollars on the line each and every week in the world's biggest football contest, there's only one proxy to trust, footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have set the gold standard for football contest proxy services with 20 years of experience and over 13 million in winnings for their clients. All you have to do is get to Vegas between now and the start of football season to sign up in person, and they do the rest, making sure your picks are entered every week. Whether you want to play in the Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, Super Contest Gold, or the new Super Contest College Contest, Maddie and Tony have you covered. Their new website has everything you need to know about these football contests and more, including how you can reserve the best proxy in the business. Experience matters, so go with the pros at footballcontest.com, the gold standard proxy service.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book, South Point Studio.
We don't make stuff up here.
I would only play the Pirates team total going under.
What the hell happened to Minnesota's pitching? This total has really crashed without plumbing the lineup.
I think this number's too high, but they're landing me the 6.
Oh, I know.
Caitlin Clark drives handle on the WNBA.
Never mind all these Mickey Mouse other stations. We are giving you hands-on information.
Everyone, it is Sports by the Book. I'm Jeff Parles. We got ourselves a fun show coming here today. We got ourselves Chris Felica coming on at. Oh, okay. All right. Well, we're gonna hit a break. We'll be right back. That audio. Come on, Sean.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
False start, offense, 5-yard penalty. No, we're kidding. We're back here at Sports by the Book of Jeff Parles. See, the flag's still around here. Still happy for that. I'm gonna just toss that to the other side of the desk now. So there we go. Happy to be with you as always. Let's get into things. Chris Felica is going to join us in about 20 minutes. College football, NFL. Looking forward to that here today on the program. But first, we have a lot of baseball again. A 15-game card, and we begin in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the Milwaukee Brewers may never lose again. They have eviscerated Paul Skeens last night. Just an absolute destruction last night. And they made Skeens look like a double-A pitcher. They beat the Pirates 14-0, 2 touchdowns worth. And then now today they got Brandon Woodruff on the bump, who has just been absolutely spectacular in his first 4 starts back after missing a year plus. But, you know, the bigger thing on the line today, by the way, there's no bets to be had here. It'd only be look at the Brewers team total because the Brewers are just scoring runs like crazy right now. There is a big thing on the line, though, and our friend JR pointed this out to us yesterday. So there's a restaurant company up in Wisconsin called George Webb that has a lot of restaurants across the state of Wisconsin. And the original proprietor of it, George Webb, said back all the way in the 30s, hey, if the home baseball team wins 12 straight games, we're going to give out free burgers. This has only happened twice in the history of the city. Of course, obviously, there was the minor league team, Brewers, before these Brewers existed. The Braves were there as well. It's only happened twice, 1987 and then in 2018, which included playoff games as well in that run. But the Brewers are one win away to get to 12 in a row. It would be free burgers at George Webb restaurants in Milwaukee. So be on the lookout for that if you are in the land of cheese and beer. By the way, I do expect the Brewers to win today. It would only be a look to the Milwaukee team total over. Even though Mitch Keller's pitched well, the Brewers are just destroying everyone at the current moment. All right, let's go to St. Louis next. Cardinals and the Rockies, final game of this 3-game series in St. Louis. Missed opportunity by the Birds last night. Cardinals have scored 3 runs in 2 games against this awful Rocky pitching staff, which is not a good look. They go for the series win tonight, St. Louis does. McGreevy and Gomber, so Austin Gomber, of course, was in the Arenado deal, making a return here to St. Louis. Minus 220 on the Cardinals, total 8.5. Nothing to be had in this game. A little disappointed in St. Louis. Now, Cardinals gotten it back to 3. Now it's back to 4 in the wild card chase behind the Mets, 2 behind Cincinnati, who were 2 behind New York after the Mets finally won a game last night, beating up on Spencer Strider. But again, this is a disappointment for St. Louis. So would have really expected them to sweep this series, keep it within 3, maybe even 2 if the Mets dump 1 against Atlanta. But again, a missed opportunity, and really the line is 4 at this point. It's really 7 for 6, and even then, I think the Mets are 1 little run away from putting Cincinnati on ice as well in this NL wildcard chase. All right, we got day baseball in San Francisco next. And Ryan McCormick, you read my mind. The National League West is all tied up, guys. The Dodgers can't beat the Angels. The Padres have taken the first 2 off the Giants. And here we are with both teams 120 games in, with 42 to go. The San Diego Padres have caught the Los Angeles Dodgers. Oh, and by the way, they play each other the next 2 weekends. First 3 in LA, next 3 in San Diego. So for the Padres, the opportunity is there. They're minus 150 today. Nick Pivetta, who has not been quite as good as he was for the first 3 months of the season of late, against Mr. Tang, who is making his second career start for the Giants at plus 135. Total's actually gotten bet up from 7.5 to 8 here today. Again, in San Francisco, we know the wind is not as huge of an impact, even though it's going to be yet another windy day by the bay, as it always is here in the summer. But again, wind does not really impact with the way the construction of that ballpark was. So it would only be a look to the over, though. If you can find a 7.5, Circa still got 7.5. If you want to take a shot on that over, I don't mind it. I don't like Tang. I just don't see it. Just don't see it with him. The Padres should be able to put up some runs. Just a matter of can San Francisco help us out with this. The Giants, again, sold at the deadline. They're 5.5 out of a playoff spot. Padres and Cubs are in a virtual tie. Padres technically behind them because they have one extra loss, but they also have one extra win, so that's why we have the virtual tie. But there you go. Dodgers, a game and a half, and the Padres, I should say, a game and a half behind Philadelphia for the 2 seed, and we've talked about how important it is to get the bye in the National League. Brewers just running away and hiding with the 1. 6 games ahead of Philadelphia for the 2 seed and 7.5 ahead of Chicago in the National League Central. Speaking of Philadelphia, rubber match in Cincinnati, and this is a dynamite pitching matchup at Great American Ballpark in an early evening tilt in Cincinnati. Hunter Greene makes his long-awaited return off the IL, and the Reds have been waiting for this. Greene, who was great before he hit the IL, has not pitched since June the 3rd, actually a game they beat the Milwaukee Brewers on, which would not be possible at this point because the Brewers, it's impossible for them to lose now. But this is a very good pitching matchup tonight. And the total is higher than you would have expected with these two guys because of the ballpark. It's an 8.5 for the game. It's a 4 in the first 5. It's really just a question of how long does Hunter Greene pitch in this game? Do we see him go for length? Maybe. I wouldn't expect more than 5, which makes that first 5 enticing. Christopher Sanchez has obviously been incredible this year for Philadelphia. It would only be a look to the first 5 under in this game. Phil should be the small favorite because I don't expect more than 5 out of Greene here tonight. And again, that Cincinnati bullpen a little more suspect than the Philly bullpen at this point. Now that Duran is locking it down at the back end for the Phillies. All right, let's go to New York next. The Mets won a baseball game yesterday. They destroyed Spencer Strider. They put an 8 up on Strider en route to a 13-5 win. All 13 runs by the Mets scored with 2 outs yesterday. How about that for a little bit of an anomaly? The biggest thing, again, for the Mets, they throw David Peterson, who's been the one guy who's been able to give them length over the last month plus. Carlos Carrasco, former Met, goes for Atlanta tonight at plus 170. Total of 9. I will say, even with the calamity that was the past weekend in Milwaukee for the Mets, you saw the glimpses of the offense starting to turn the corner back on Saturday, and then on Sunday, the Mets scored 6. They had a 5-run lead in that game. They should have won that game if it wasn't for the Brewers' epic run at the current moment. I would be looking to a Met team total if it's, again, if the price is right, it's going to more likely than not be 5.5 everywhere. Just, you don't want to be laying a price, obviously, at that, but this Met offense looks like it has awoken a little bit. Pete Alonso breaking the Met club record for most home runs in the career, passing Straw yesterday. So congratulations to the Polar Bears, as Gary Cohen said, now on his own private iceberg, alone at the top of the Met home run leaderboard. But this is an important game for David Peterson as well, who's not pitched well his last 2 times out. Mets need length. They got a really nice gift yesterday from Justin Hageman, who threw 4 shutout out of the bullpen, 4 no-hit, I should say, out of the bullpen, so they didn't have to go totally deep into their already fatigued bullpen at the moment. Would only be a look to the Mets team total over in this game against the Braves, who, talk about a lost season for Atlanta, 17 games under 500 now after the loss last night. All right, we go to the south side of Chicago next. White Sox looking for a series win against the Tigers, a 9-6 won last night. Boy, if you had Detroit laying a half a run in the first 5 anything last night, yikes. 1-0 to the bottom of the 5th, and then the White Sox put a 5 spot on you in that bottom of the 5th. Gomez actually pitched pretty well for the White Sox last night. Jack Flaherty blew up in that 5th inning. Tigers' lead is down to 5.5 in the American League Central after the Guardians got a 1-run win against the Miami Marlins last night. So this is tightening up a little more than you would like in the AL Central. By the way, you see the Mariners have tied, and that technically hopped via tiebreak the Astros out west. We'll get to both of those teams a little bit later. But this is another cheap price tonight with the Tigers. Minus 135 on Melton. Smith plus 120 on the other side. You get a plus price on the run line. I know we didn't get there 2 days ago with the Tigers. We're going to go back to what we did the other day. We're going to take the run line, lay the run at a half, plus 125 with Detroit, and then lay $1.35 on the money line on the Tigers. you have to expect there's going to be one game in this series where the Tiger offense explodes. Hasn't happened yet. It would make a lot of sense for it to end the series today with an offensive explosion for Detroit here at minus 135. All right, let's go to Baltimore next. Mariners 1-0 last night against the O's to push the win streak to 8 to tie the Houston Astros at the top of the American League West. Today it's Logan Gilbert and Trevor Rogers. Trevor Rogers has been significantly better than I would have expected coming off of injury for Baltimore this year. Might be a good trade piece in the offseason for the O's. Logan Gilbert, again, even though you look at this whole staff, and Brian Wu has been spectacular this year, this is still Logan Gilbert's staff. And if your best pitcher on the mound, you're on the road against a team that, again, is going nowhere. I actually would look to the Mariner run line. Same sort of strategy with Detroit here. Mariners, good cheapish price on Gilbert at minus 140. Run line is plus money. I would look to that today with Seattle minus the 1.5 and plus 120 on the road this evening in Baltimore. That would be my look tonight with the Mariners. All right, let's go to New York next. The Yankees and the Twins. Schlittler and Joe Ryan. Good pitching matchup in the Bronx tonight. Minus 145 on New York, plus 130 on Minnesota. Total 8.5. Fun with numbers. We like fun with numbers. After last night, the Yankees are now 81 games over 500 since 2003 against the Minnesota Twins. Pretty good. Pretty good ownage by the New York Yankees. There's no reason to bet against the Yankees again tonight. It would only be parlay fodder more so than anything. Again, boy, that's a good price on the run line, but it's always a little dicey taking those home teams when you're not guaranteed the 9 ABs with the Yankees here tonight. So it would only be Yankees on the money line. Yeah, I guess you could take the Yankees on the on the run line if you want. They've covered it in both games so far, 9-1 and 6-2 in those first two games in this series. All right, let's go to Houston next. The Hunter Brown experience back on the bump tonight for the Stros as Houston has fallen out of sole possession of first place in the American League West, taking on the Red Sox, who eviscerated them last night, 14-1. Hunter Brown's minus 150. Bueller on the other side, plus 135. Alex has bet the over both of these first two games. It's gotten home. I'd be cautious tonight because Brown is the best pitcher that has pitched in this series for Houston. But Bueller has struggled, so I don't mind if you want to look at that lower 8 and bet it over here tonight. All right, we go to Sacramento next. A's behind a brilliant performance by Lopez last night. What a job how Jacob Lopez has done for the A's so far. 9 strikeouts, 7 shutout last night in a 6-0 win for the Athletics. Now it's Rasmussen against Ginn. It would be minus 130 on Rasmussen and a total of 9.5. I would only be looking at Tampa, but again, kind of like treating this ballpark as Coors Light, no pun intended there, just because of the way that ballpark plays in West Sacramento. All right, we go to Kansas City next. Royals and the Nats. Royals back to 500 after taking the first two games of this series. Looking for the sweep, Lugo and Irvin. Price is pretty expensive on Kansas City, but the Nats are just flailing at this point. It would only be a look to find some sort of parlay fodder with someone else with the Royals, but that is a pretty expensive price on Kansas City tonight at minus 165 in Middle America. Going to Arlington next, Texas and the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks 1-run win last night after the Rangers coming from behind 2 nights ago. Merrill Kelly against his former squad. Zach Gallen goes for Arizona. 7.5 the total, nothing here. Even though it seems like a reasonable price on Gallen if you want to take the plus 130 on the dog here in this rubber match in Arlington. Cleveland next. Guardians, Marlins. Williams and Perez, minus 130 on Cleveland. This is a cheap price on Williams here tonight. Even though I will say, Guardians in this run that have gotten them back in it have really been smoke and mirrors. Just a lot of low-scoring games. 3, 4, make it 5 1-run victories since the beginning of August. A lot of smoke and mirrors, and that scares me, especially with Perez's stuff, but it would only be a look to Cleveland and Williams, who obviously pitched great his last time out, carried a no-hitter into the 9th inning against the Mets last week. All right, north of the border we go. Toronto, Chicago. Blue Jays, 20 games over 500 now after the win last night. It's 5-1. Great outing by Berrios. Ryan, what's the panic meter on the Cubs at this point? Oh, we're not even on the panic meter anymore. We're off into the extinction corner at this point for the Cubs, for young Ryan McCormick. Horton and Gausman, minus 130 on Toronto. You know what? I do like that price tonight on Kevin Gausman. Blue Jays, I think if you've been listening the last few days, I've made it pretty clear that I don't fully buy Milwaukee in the postseason. Same deal with the Blue Jays. Just because winning close games, I don't trust their pitching. But they, again, two best teams in baseball right now are the Brewers and the Blue Jays. As we expected a few months ago. I would only be a look to Toronto here tonight on that price. All right, last one up on the board. Angels and Dodgers. Angels looking to sweep the season series at 6-love on the Dodgers after a pretty wild game last night that featured a triple play and a ninth inning comeback for the Angels. Just take the first two games in that series in Anaheim. Ohtani and Hendricks. Can we expect Shohei Ohtani to go more than 4 innings? Probably not. Maybe push 5 at most. Hendricks is awful. That's the real problem. And are the Dodgers really going to go 0-6 against the Angels this year? Are they really going to go 0-6? But that's a pretty juicy price on the Angels, who've had LA's number. And again, the Dodgers and the Padres enter today's action tied in the National League West. They play 3 games in LA this weekend at Chavez Ravine. So a humongous series coming up for the Dodgers and the Padres. All right. That's been the baseball card here for today. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going through NFL and college football related plays with our guy, the Bear. Chris Felica of Fox Sports joins us next right here. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio, live as always from the South Point Hotel and Casino.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza. Plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book. Over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book here on a Wednesday morning. I'm Jeff Parles, and now joining us, it's our good friend, the Bear, Chris Felica, Fox Sports, of course, the Bear Bets podcast, which is in full swing right now, getting ready for all the great football action. And there he is on the other side of your screen. Bear, good morning. Less than 9 days from now, we'll all be getting up early for Farmageddon in Dublin, which is
Farmageddon in Dublin. What's better than that?
Hey, look, it's as the creators of college football intended, right? I mean, week 0 in Dublin with 2 teams from Middle America. Hey, look, all I'm going to tell you, Bear, and we'll get into these college conference futures in a second. Circa's got a 4 on Iowa State right now, and I have been staring at it for 48 hours. I'm like, why don't I take this now? Which is always a fun way to do that.
Because you have visions of the Iowa State rush defense from last year, averaging like 5.5, allowing like 5.5 yards a carry, and you know that Kansas State is a run-heavy offense, and they got Dylan Edwards on the other side of the ball, and you can envision a game where they allow like 250 on the ground and lose, say, 30-23. That's why you haven't made the play yet.
I also envision a horrible Rocco Becht interception, which feels like happened in every game I bet Iowa State last year. And I like Rocco too. But again, they're here at the South Point 3.5 on an opener at Farmageddon. One of 4 FBS v. FVS games in week 0, which Vinny Magliulo wants to call week 1, which I'll give him, which is fine, and which also includes.
I agree, it is week 1. I'm with Vinny.
Fine with that. I'm cool with the teams playing 2 week 1 games. Also, the opening of the new look Booth Memorial Stadium in Kansas, in Lawrence, which David Booth gave Kansas a very sizable donation this morning, which I'm sure you saw.
I'm sure you, as a Missouri grad, are really appreciating.
So
that.
You know what
the old team in Lawrence getting a leg up.
You know what the fun part of this is, Bear? I don't know if you knew this, but my wife is a Kansas grad. So
I did not know that.
So I have, yes, my wife is. Look, I love my wife, but my wife will be looked at as a traitor who went to Kansas for undergrad and Missouri for postgrad. Yeah, there you go. Kansas 13 against Fresno. All right, Bear, I want to look at some conference futures here because it's around that time where it's been clunking around in my head for a few weeks now. And I want to start in the ACC where, Bear, I know when we talked last, you were on Clemson's under for the season. I have a hard time trying to find the argument in a year where last year where Clemson was, I mean, that's as bad of a team as Dabo has had since his beginning years, and they still won the ACC. I'm trying to find the argument for the teams behind them. Clemson's even, Miami's 4-1, SMU and Louisville are 7-1, Georgia Tech is 10-1, and then after that, I don't think anyone is worthy of even a look after that, Bear, here at the South Point.
It's Miami for me, and the thing with Clemson is, what did they go in the regular season last year? 9-3.
Yep.
And they needed Miami blowing a 21-0 lead at Syracuse just to get in that game. So I mean, I don't know. It's the same. We'll see ultimately what happens with Clemson. I could be dead wrong. I've been before, and I will be again. But for me, it's Miami in the ACC. I think people are kind of jaded and maybe forgot how good Carson Beck was in 2023 just because of the abnormal amount of injuries Georgia had at the running back position, at wide receiver, kicking guys off the team, offensive line. If you go back and look at the SEC wide receiver rankings last year, like the number of drops that they had between Dylan Bell and Arian Smith, who, by the way, now welcome to the Jets family, Arian Smith.
Yep.
So we can look forward to that. It was abnormal. You bring Beck now, who's got a chip on his shoulder in Miami. Miami's going to have 3 running backs who they can rotate in and out. They've built in the trenches on the offensive line. They went hard in the portal to shore up a secondary, which was garbage last year, and they feel really good about Poyser and Xavier Lucas from Wisconsin and some other guys. They're going to be really good back there. I think if there is a question for people that aren't necessarily familiar with the program, it's surrounding wide receivers, but I'm going to give you 2 names, Malachi Toney and Joshua Moore. You're going to get to know those guys pretty early on, 2 young wide receivers who have been really turning heads in camp. And they got Elijah Lofton, a kind of a tight end, H-back kind of guy who I think could have a great year. And I saw him; he was a monster price to win the Mackey Award. And I don't know how they're going to categorize him. I mean, he's listed as a Mackey Award candidate, but he was like 40-1 or so to win the Mackey. I just put a little pizza money on that. But I think if you look at Miami's schedule in the ACC, it's very beneficial. They don't draw Clemson in the regular season. I think the road is all there for Miami. I think Mario feels pretty good about his team, and 4-1, that would be the team that I would choose to make a wager on, and I have.
Bear, I just want to ask you about one other ACC team before we move on, because North Carolina obviously has been just slightly in the news this offseason, just a little bit. But you know, I've just with going through everything on them, it's like, well, the 7.5 the 7.5s that are out there feel right, but it feels like everyone has gone the other way of like, this is going to be a train wreck with Belichick and everything. And I'm looking at this roster and looking at the schedule. I'm like, there are 8, 9 winnable, maybe even 10 winnable games on this schedule where if Lopez is good, of course, the South Alabama transfer, they could, again, I'm not saying they're going to win the ACC or anything, but they could be, when you look up their final week where they're going to Raleigh and it's like, oh, they get some help. We could have an accidental appearance in Charlotte here from Belichick and company.
Yeah, I don't know how good the team is going to be this year, but you're right. It feels like 8-4, 7-5. Those are the two most likely outcomes for them this year. I have not made a play on this. And you hit the schedule. The schedule is bad. The ACC is full of a bunch of teams in the middle that are the same and a bunch of really bad teams at the bottom. And if I had to play it, I probably would play over. And I'd bank on it on an 8-4 type year. Don't you just, I mean, at some point, don't you have to give Bill Belichick and that staff some credit and some respect? Like he's going to walk out on a field and feel like he can't outcoach Dave Doran or Tony Elliott or Justin Wilcox, whoever, name an ACC coach. I mean, guys, arguably the greatest head coach of all time. Like, they're going to have like an advantage in that department. Now it's going to be, can he adjust to the college game and how good the roster is? I don't think the roster is necessarily great, but I'm with you. I very easily could see an 8-4 type team.
Well, and if they win week 1 against TCU, which is really a huge game for both teams, because people seem to be buying TCU stock over the last month.
I'm not.
Neither am I. I don't see it at all. I think Hoover's not particularly good, but that's a different discussion for about 30 seconds from now. But yeah, look, if UNC wins week 1, it could be a totally different story. There are the win totals for the Big 12 as we go there next, Bear. And look, you look at this conference. Last year, the team that I projected to finish last won the whole conference, which shows what I know, in Arizona State. Now it feels like the pendulum on the Sun Devils has flipped the other way, where everyone seems to be too high on them. Bear, I look at Utah and say, hey, we actually know who's going to be playing quarterback the whole year for them for the first time since 2022. We don't have to deal with the rising injury nonsense that we dealt with the last 2 years. I like Dampierre in New Mexico. I understand why Arizona State is the betting favorite at most shops, but I like the Utes, Bear. I think this is a great bounce back year for Kyle Whittingham and company with having a stable quarterback position for the first time in 2 years.
I agree. And I think they've kind of gotten back to as well, building up in that offensive line. I mean, there aren't very many teams out there that have had as bad injury luck and fortune as Utah has the last couple of years. And at some point you would expect that to kind of flip back and regress the other way. I'm with you on Dampierre. I think Kyle Whittingham wanted to step down and retire and go out on a high note last year. I thought the team that he thought he had last year was capable of winning the Big 12, and ultimately it just never materialized. But I think if you look at the schedule for the Utes this year, I'm with you. I think Utah should be favored to win the league. Yeah, you get Texas Tech at home, you get Kansas State at home, you get ASU at home. The three teams that most people think are going to be competing with you for that title, you get them at Rice Eccles, and that's a big of a home field advantage as there is in college football. And that's not hyperbole from anybody who has gone there to see a game, especially at night. Like, the student section is as rowdy as they come. That is a big bonus for Utah. So I'm with you, Jeff. I like the Utes. If I were to make a bet on one of those favorites to win the league, it would be Utah. If you wanted to bet throw a dart and who's going to be the Arizona State BYU this year to potentially make a run, I think Houston would be the team for me. You bring in Connor Wegman. The offense was terrible last year. The jump that Willie Fritz is proved in certain places that he can make from year one to year two. I think Houston, with the culture that he's going to be able to bring in there, the way the schedule breaks down, they could be undefeated when they're hosting Texas Tech. I think it's early October. So would not surprise me to see Houston be a little bit of a thorn in the side of a lot of teams in that conference. But in terms of if I had to make one bet to win the league, it would be the Utes.
Utes right now at plus 550. As you see on your screen, it is all stacked up at the top with the top five. And Arizona State actually comes in at fifth here at the South Point, with Baylor as the betting favorite here at the South Point. And I love Sawyer Robertson down there. And, Bear, we talked about Texas Tech when you were with us last time. I am with you on the fade train of the Red Raiders because of the quarterbacks that we see of those top five teams. I know Avery Johnson has had his issues last year. I know Dampierre is playing up. I don't trust Morden at all. I just don't see it.
Yeah, it's healthy either.
And also, too, the one little thing with Texas Tech, and you brought up Houston, Willie Fritz is an amazing coach. We know that. What has Joey McGuire done? What has he done? His roster's loaded, but I don't trust the coach. I don't trust the quarterback in Lubbock. So look, they could still obviously win the league. They're loaded talent-wise, but when you don't trust the quarterback and you don't trust the coach, that's usually not a recipe for looking to bet on that team.
Yeah, it's kind of like our joke about Auburn last year in the SEC. Yeah. You get bad quarterback play and you can't finish games. That's probably a bad combination. If you were looking towards one quick thing about the Big 12, week one, that Utah UCLA game, I kind of disagree with that line move. I'm going to wait and see if I can get a 7 with UCLA there, because I was super down on the Bruins last year. And early in the year, the schedule was brutally hard, and the record indicated didn't win a game and started slow, but they played really well towards the end of the year. And I'm not necessarily this Nico is going to come in and be the program savior, but he is a massive improvement over what they had at quarterback last year. If that game hits 7, I know it's up to 6.5 now, or now I'm seeing it's back down to 5. Okay, because I know that game moved to 6.5, so maybe there was maybe the buyback already happened, but I'm gonna monitor that, because I could see myself being on the Bruins there with plus the points.
Yeah, you could still get 6.5 in the market here, Bear. We just updated it on our screen, so there you go. So 6.5 on that one. All I'll say is there is always one game where the market goes crazy on a favorite week one, and then you look up and it's like, that the underdog's leading by 10 points with 10 minutes to go. And as much as I love Utah, it wouldn't shock me if UCLA beats them week one. And I'm with you. I mean, they played much better. I like Deshaun Foster and Amali Alves.
Didn't that happen last year in the Ireland game, Florida State, Georgia Tech? Didn't the Noles go from 10 to 14 or something like that?
It was something ridiculous, and then it was obvious 5 minutes in that Georgia Tech was the better team, and you just couldn't get the money in quick enough live on the Yellow Jackets in that game. All right, let's go to the Big Ten. Bear, last time we talked, I told you that I had Penn State number 1 in my rankings, and it terrified me. And even as we get closer, I still have the Nittany Lions at number 1. And here you go. Here's the overall national title odds with Penn State, Ohio State as 2 of the 3 favorites here at the South Point. Only Texas shorter. But Bear, this is a 3-horse race with Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. There's a case for the Ducks because they're the longest of the bunch and they have a pretty easy schedule other than the trip to Happy Valley. I'm just going to ask you if it somehow in some crazy world we live in where you end up in a Big Ten championship game where it's one of the big 3 versus someone else, who would be the team that could potentially be the team that sneaks into Indianapolis? Of course, Indiana didn't get there a year ago, but it's quite the shock that Penn State was there instead of Ohio State last year.
Yeah. We can say the round robin tiebreak there, and then Michigan wound up pulling the upset. I would say USC. And
Okay.
I know that probably isn't going to go over well with a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to raise some eyebrows. But if you look at USC last year and their losses, they led in the fourth quarter, I think, in like 5 games last year. I mean, they had Penn State beat, and they kind of got screwed a little bit. Lost some other games on the final play. I think they feel a lot better about their talent level from when Lincoln Riley does from when he got to LA. And if you look at the schedule in the Big Ten, it's about as good as you could hope. You don't draw Ohio State. You don't draw Penn State. You get Michigan at home. Your toughest road game is at the end of the year at Oregon. Like there's a scenario where if you look at the Trojan schedule, like maybe they're undefeated in the Big Ten when they go to Autzen, and maybe they have the one loss. Maybe they lose at Autzen, but Oregon has a loss at Penn State, and maybe Oregon trips up somewhere along the way, and maybe the scenario works out that if it's not that 3-team round robin of Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, I think USC at that price there at 15-1 would be a bet that I would be interested in if indeed you did have some conviction that maybe Dante Moore isn't the guy, or maybe Julian Sayin struggles and Ohio State can't replace all those guys, or maybe Drew Aller is what Drew Aller has been and their wide receiver play doesn't improve to the level that I think people think it will. And I'm not necessarily sold that they're going to be great at wide receiver again. I mean, Payne is a nice player, but I'm not sure they still have that game-breaking type of guy. So we'll see. I still think it's going to be a lot of running backs, a lot of tight end, and we'll find out for sure. But 15-1 on USC to win the Big Ten certainly might be a ticket that's worth having.
Bear, I just want to ask you one other Big Ten related question, because Illinois, which we talked about a month ago, as like, oh, the schedule puts up nicely 7.5 juiced way to the over, makes a whole lot of sense, and then the pollsters put them in the top 15, and it's like, well, there goes
12th.
that. Yeah, they put him 12. They put him 12.
They're 12. How are they 12? How are they 12?
Look, and Bear, you and I talked about, we like this team coming. Like a month ago, it's like, oh, all right, you know what? Maybe they're ranked like 24th or something like that in the initial poll, and they come in at 12th, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is going to be one of those seasons where you take a team that we all pinpointed as, hey, you know what?
Yep.
Maybe they could win 9-10 games, and it's be like, well, guess who I'm betting on September 6th? I'm betting the Duke Blue Devils in Durham against Illinois now. Like, I mean,
give me old Darian Mensah there, please, with my man Manny Diaz.
Yeah, no,
you're right. You're right about Illinois. Like, what would the perception of this team be if they didn't win a miracle game at Rutgers, or they didn't win an overtime game against Purdue, or they didn't win an overtime game against Nebraska, or Kansas didn't turn the ball over 4 times that game? Like, they were that close last year to being a 7-5 type of team. If you look, they had 4 games last year. Like I mentioned, USC was a team that had fourth quarter leads and couldn't hold them. Illinois was the exact opposite. They had 5 games that they trailed in the fourth quarter and came back and won. And Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews, who I'm sure you guys have had on, and people out there who are listening and watching know of his work, he had a great note in there about Illinois last year, with opponent adjusted yardage. They were 45th of 68 Power 5 teams, so they did not grade out statistically like a top 10 or a 10 win type team. They were more along that 6-7 win type of range. They were an underdog 8 times last year in 11 games against Power 5 opponents. And if you look at the schedule again this year, there are a lot of toss-up type games. So, look, we'll see. I think every one of their road games is losable. I bet under 8.5 and laid 165. That number, I think, is still out there in certain places. If you got to win 9 to beat me, I'll take my chances. You know, Bear, it's funny where, again, we'll do the Maliula line of polls don't make prices, but boy, the perception, look, I have no issue with what 1 through 10 was. I thought any of that order was fine. With the pollsters, once they got to 11, I was like, well, we're just going to go off of whatever we think like we usually do. But It's like, You're right.
Arizona State's not the 11th best team in the country.
No.
Illinois is not even close to the 12th best team. And then I love Lenora Sellers, and this was the one that stood out to me. South Carolina's another one where, and look, call me biased here for a second. If Mizzou's defense gets a stop against South Carolina after the long touchdown to Burden, South Carolina's perception's completely different going into this offseason. They weren't the
and who knows what happens with those other games that they play, the A&M game and some of the games that they got hot late. Maybe there's a little less buy-in, and the team, the morale in the locker room goes down quite a bit. But it's funny you say that about kind of guessing with the poll. If you go back to the preseason AP poll last year, the teams ranked 16 through 25. 9 of those 10 finished the year unranked.
Yeah.
So it's a total guess from especially in the back of the poll. And we all know the notes about teams being unranked at the start of the year and finishing in the top 10. That was Indiana last year. Florida State, Michigan starting in the top 10 last year, finishing unranked. But yeah, you're right. I'm on a South Carolina under 7.5 as well. I think that schedule is absolutely brutal. Florida's another team at 15. Yep. We talked about this on Bear Bets. I don't know how you can trust them to win 8 games when you have DJ Lagway in a boot right now. We still don't know if his shoulder is fully healthy. They have games early in the year away from home that could be absolutely brutal, and they could have to a slow start. And here we are again going down the Billy Napier should be fired path. Yeah, I'm not there with South Carolina. I'm not there with Florida. I'm certainly not there with Illinois. I texted Chrissy the other day too, and I put up a Chris Andrews, for those who aren't familiar with my vernacular of just Chrissy. I would love there to be a market put up there, and I'm sure it would have to go through gaming to get approved, but list every single one of those preseason top 10 teams in the AP poll and offer a prop, offer a price on which team, on each of these teams. Will Clemson be unranked in the final AP poll of the season? Yes, plus 550 or whatever. Put a price on all of them, and then list a price. That way, it's not a total scoop of like all 10 preseason AP top 10 teams will be ranked in the final top 25. I would love a market like that, because I think you could take a couple of stabs early on. Maybe the loser of Clemson LSU is a team that has a difficult season that really isn't perceived right now. Maybe Georgia, if Gunnar Stockton can't play. And that's my biggest question of the year. Like, can Gunnar Stockton actually play quarterback? Like we saw in the playoff last year, and that's all we know about the guy. So, I mean, Frazier laid the ball on the ground a lot last year. Offensive line was abnormally poor. Look, I think you have to kind of trust Kirby Smart, but like if you're looking to just kind of play a hypothetical what if, it like, Georgia to finish the year unranked at plus 700 or whatever. So someone's going to bet that.
There's always one team in that top 10 that just totally collapses. And I'm all for more betting options. You know that, Bear. So I should be very happy. The more the merrier on that. You mentioned a few SEC teams. Let's go there. I'm with you on the Gunnar Stockton thing. I look at Georgia's roster and it's like, all right, they should be better with their weapons should be better than they were a year ago. They just missed Brock Bowers so much a year ago.
Mm-hmm. And McConkey.
Their weapons should be better. But I look at their schedule again, where yes, you get the ridiculously tough games that they had on the road last year. They come to Athens, Texas, and Alabama coming to Athens, and that's a big deal. But you still got to play Florida in Jacksonville. You still got to go to Tennessee. You still got to go to Auburn, who I know you're high on the Tigers this year. And I look at it and I'm like, boy, 3-1 on Georgia feels like they should be priced where Alabama is right now in this market. But Bear, I have a weird feeling that we're going to get one oddball team in Atlanta this year. I just can't pinpoint who it is. Of who plays either Texas or Alabama, at least in my book in the SEC title game. Guide me a little bit here of if there's a potential oddball that could make it to Atlanta here.
Well, we almost got it last year. I mean, there was a scenario going into the last week of the season that A&M was going to be going to Atlanta to play for the SEC title, and then ultimately it didn't get there. I haven't made a bet to win the SEC. I can shoot holes in a lot of these rosters and a lot of these schedules, and I think one overriding theme in the SEC this year is like, look at Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Texas. Like the odds of the 9-3 is going to wind up being a really good record in the SEC, and a couple of those teams are going to wind up 9-3.
Mm-hmm.
So who is it going to be? Of the teams at the top, I know I just kind of poo-pooed Georgia. I just trust Georgia. I trust the player development. I trust the recruiting. I trust if Kirby Smart has a quarterback that just isn't going to turn the ball over, kind of like the way Jake Fromm was, kind of like the way Stetson Bennett was. I think maybe that's how they view Gunnar Stockton. So we'll see. I still have to trust Georgia. The Alabama love is really interesting to me. And I wonder if it's almost just more of an overreaction or just kind of an over-adjustment, or this opinion that Ryan Grubb coming to Tuscaloosa is going to automatically make things better. And the fact that Jalen Miller had some shortcomings in the passing game, they'll be better with Ty Simpson. But Ty Simpson's a guy that has just kind of been in the program for a while, and maybe it will work out where he's able to kind of lead this team. I worry about Ryan Williams, too, a little bit. Like, if you look at his numbers after that great Georgia game, I think he had one game the rest of the way with like more than like 65 receiving yards, and he had like three touchdowns the rest of the way. Like he did not finish the season on a very high note. Maybe that changes this year. We'll see. But I think the market and a lot of people are a little bit higher on Alabama than I am. I look at that defense. I wonder, they don't have that intense pass rusher like they've had in the past. I mean, look, they got great players on that defense, but I'm still looking for that havoc wrecker on that on that Alabama defense, and I don't see it. Maybe they'll develop, but I think the two teams that are at the top, I think we very well may get that rematch of Texas Georgia in Atlanta, and just like we did last year.
Would have no problem.
Fourth time in 2 years.
Would have no problem with that if we get Texas and Georgia yet again in Mercedes-Benz. Bear, you need to save me from myself here. Currently, the biggest bet I have in pocket for college football is Missouri over 7 wins. So it's more of a schedule. There's always also one team in the power conferences that seems to be overlooked. And look, there's questions about what Bo Pribula is going to be at quarterback. Mm-hmm. I think Mizzou's defense looks every bit as good as it did last year going in on paper. And yeah, you're replacing an NFL right tackle and a bunch of weapons, but I think their weapons are still pretty good. Bear, they play 8 home games. They play 8 home games this year, which, boy, if you're giving me a 7 with 8 home games and a road slate where the toughest road game is at Auburn, at least in my book, I think Auburn's going to be better than Oklahoma by the time that game flips around for Mizzou. I'm going to take over 7 every day. And if they go 7-5, all right, I'll take my money back. And they go 500. There's a different conversation happening at that point.
Yeah. So you're basically banking on them starting 5-0. You're banking on them beating Kansas. You're banking on them beating South Carolina.
Yes.
And then 5-0 entering that Alabama game.
Correct.
And then and then you would assume at minimum you're going to beat Mississippi State and you're going to win Arkansas.
That's
and
what
that gets you to 7, and that gets you a push.
That's what I have. It's really the week 2 Kansas game, which first time since my freshman year of college in 2011, if we all want to feel old for a second there, that Mizzou has played Kansas in football. That is a humongous game for both teams, for early season game for Kansas as well, who's trying to get the bad taste out of a 5-7 out of their mouth as well. All right, Bear, I want to ask you about the prop that Chris and company put up upstairs, the conference to win the national championship this year, where the SEC is the betting favorite at plus 135, Big Ten at plus 140, 10-1 on the ACC, 15-1 on the Big 12, and then realistically speaking, Notre Dame at 10-1,
right,
along with the G5. I would just bet the Irish in the normal market if you want the field. But Bear, I think the Big Ten should be favored. I know there's more teams that could potentially win in the SEC, but the Big 3 in the Big Ten is way better than the Big 3 in the SEC for national title hopes in my book.
when I was out there last week to sign up for contest, had dinner with Chrissy and Gil and Todd Wishnev, and Chrissy, I walk in, he's the first one there, and smiling. It's like, got a prop for you, and he's like, I want you to guess the prices. Which conference will win? And I go, well, the Big Ten's favored, right? And he's like, no. So, and then we sat down and said, well, guess the prices. I think once I know, because the SEC is going to be a slight favorite over the Big Ten, and that's kind of the going back and forth with this that I've had. Like, I think you have with Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, like 3 like legit national title contenders there. Maybe Penn State and Ohio State more so, with the easier path to potentially get there. But like the depth of the SEC, I think you have more possibilities of a team that could win. If LSU makes the playoff, they can win. Alabama, if they make the playoff, they can win. Georgia, if they make the playoff, like all 4 of those teams can absolutely make the playoff and win. So I think if I had to make a bet, I would bet the SEC. I'd bet the favorite, knowing that you got preseason number 1 there in Texas, and you got Georgia as well, who could be really good, and LSU could be really good. And you know that in that game, they'll probably be a slight favorite if they do make the title game, a slight favorite over whomever they are playing, and then you can maybe buy back a little bit on the other conference long term. It was funny when we were guessing the odds at dinner, and I said, okay. First, I like, what do you have Notre Dame? And I think he said he had like Notre Dame 12-1 or 11-1. I'm like, okay, then the field's going to be like 10-1 or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, then the Big 12. And I was like, Big 12's got to be like 30-1. He's like, what are you kidding me? 30-1. I'm like, they don't have a national title contender in there. No one from that league is winning the title. I'm like, put a big number up there. Make them come bet at attractive. None of those Big 12 teams are making the title game. And then I was like, ACC, you're basically getting Miami, Clemson. And then we went back and forth with SEC. So I would bet the SEC. I did not get out to South Point to unfortunately make that bet because I head out to my meetings in LA. But that would be my strategy. It's a lot different than last year, where at this time we were talking about Ohio State and Georgia versus the field.
Well, again, it was more natural last year with the 2 teams, and we took a very bizarre path to get there. But Ohio State,
I was a little worried there for a while.
Look, when Ohio State dumped that game to Michigan, I was like, well, it ended up just being the fact that they can't beat Michigan for whatever reason, even though I have a feeling that streak's going to end this year. All right, Bear, before we let you go, I want to go into the NFL real quick. The Kansas City Chiefs are even money to win the AFC West here at the South Point. And look, I get it. The Broncos look a lot better on paper than they did going in a year ago, and they made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. The Chargers are very well coached. The Raiders are improved. But, Bear, I think you and I are seeing the same way here, where until proven otherwise, the Kansas City Chiefs are still going to win the AFC West, and they're also the 3rd favorite to win the AFC as a whole as well, Bear.
I love the price the prices of being 3rd to win the AFC. Like, I think the Bills are good, but should the Bills be like that prohibitively priced in that AFC more than the Chiefs are in the West, or should the Bills be that shorter of a price to win the AFC than the Chiefs? Look, everything that potentially could go wrong for the Chiefs last year in terms of running back injuries, wide receiver injuries, offensive line problems, and the Chiefs still wound up winning that division. Like, you're going to get a healthy Pacheco, a healthy Rashee Rice. You bring in Simmons on that offensive line to shore up a tackle spot. Defensively, I think they're going to be really good. Often, the fact that Patrick Mahomes is going to have guys to throw to now. It seems like Travis Kelce is kind of re-energized after the way the season ended last year. Like, you can get like I said, even money on the Chiefs or -110 or whatever, like, to win that division with the problems the Chargers are having now, with McConkey's hamstring or thigh, whatever it is, being hurt. Najee Harris, who knows if he's going to play. He's lost Slater on the offensive line, kind of moves things around. It doesn't make me very happy about my Amari and Hampton Offensive Rookie of the Year bet. But Denver, I mean, we hear good things about Denver, but maybe year 1, year 2 to Bo Nix, maybe that doesn't go as well. Like, this is just one of those like Dumbo bets that You just make it Chiefs to win the division, even money, and then you look up at Thanksgiving, and you see the Chiefs got a 2-game lead in the division. And you're like, oh yeah, I got that. I did that this morning with my account. I was going through my account to see what I had, and somewhere like buried in there, like made back like March 5th, was a Bobby Witt Jr. at 9-1 to lead the major leagues in doubles. And I just looked at the standings and I see that he's got 37 right now, 2 more than Bo Bichette. So that made me feel good.
There you go. On that. Yeah, look, Barrett, on the Chiefs, it's kind of like New England all those years, right? Like the only year that they didn't win the division with Brady on the roster was the year he got hurt. That was it, and they still won 11 games. Just keep it simple through the year. I know the Patriots fans love when I compare the Chiefs to the Patriots dynasty. But that's a different conversation for a different time. Bear, I want to go to the Niners. You're looking at 2 different award markets for San Francisco. Alex and I actually recorded our Niner preview yesterday, which to give you the quick preview, at least from my end, is like, well, the schedule is a joke, but the roster is the weakest I can remember it being since year 1 with Kyle Shanahan. But you're looking coach of the year and you're looking defensive rookie of the year market here in San Fran.
Yeah, I agree. Depth-wise, it could certainly be a problem, but I think what's really driven me to this is the fact that you've got the uncertainty around Matthew Stafford with the Rams now, who are perceived to be 1A or 1B, or the Niners' biggest threat in that division. And we don't know if he's going to play. So instead of basically playing Niners to win the division, you look at that schedule and you're like, okay, they could easily go from 6-11 to 11-6 or 12-5. And you draft Mikael Williams, who with Robert Saleh there as defensive coordinator, he could be an impact player on the opposite side of Bosa. So instead of looking for a shorter price to win the division, like if they go 12-5 or whatever, who's to say that Kyle Shanahan isn't given that Coach of the Year award for improving a team 5, 6, 7 wins from a year ago? And who's to say Mikael Williams isn't a disruptor on the defensive side of the ball? Like I don't know how you can bet Abdul Carter at that short of a price. You're looking at the Coach of the Year prices as well. Like if you like Jonathan Gannon as well in the Cardinals, maybe you play both Gannon and Shanahan, because there's a chance that both of them could get a little bit of a bump.
My whole Coach of the Year thing, Bear, is if the Chicago Bears win the division like I picked them to, Ben Johnson is going to be unanimous. So that is my handicap. If the Bears do not do it, that's where we're looking at. All right, he's Chris Felica. You can get him on Fox Sports the Bear Bets podcast as always. Chris Felica on the tweets. Bear, it's a pleasure, my man. I know we'll catch up again soon. Thanks for hanging with us this morning.
Absolutely, bud. Be well. Great talking to you.
Absolutely. Chris Felica, everyone. All right, we are going to take a quick break. When we get back, trivia question and answer, and then we'll send you on your way here on a Wednesday, Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book here on a Wednesday. Happy to be with you as always. Jeff Parles. Big thanks to the Bear, Chris Felica, for joining us today. And before we go with the ticker trivia question of the day, and you know what? We got a special guest reading the trivia question and answer. Take it away, Ralph Sirocco.
Hey, sports fans. This is Ralph Sirocco from Race Day Las Vegas, which you can see and hear us on YouTube every Wednesday through Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Pacific time to cover the great sport of kings, Las Vegas style. Now, the question was asked on August 13th, 1919. The accomplished racehorse Man of War had his only defeat in 21 career starts. Which horse defeated Man of War, and by how many lengths did that horse win in that particular race? Well, the answer was the Sanford Memorial Stakes at Saratoga Racecourse on August 13th, 1919. Man of War was defeated by just a half length by a horse named Upset. That's right. The horse's name was Upset. And that led to the belief that Saratoga Racecourse was the graveyard of champions. Now, Man of War in his entire career and his other total winning races won by a combined margin of over 191 lengths. He was considered the GOAT of the last century for horse racing. Man of War's only defeat. And so that was an upset, leading to the phrase, when a sports team or any sporting event and an unbelievable underdog wins, causing it an upset. And the one thing I can guarantee to you is watching and listening to Sports by the Book, you will never be upset.
There's our guy, Ralph Sirocco, of course, the host of Race Day Las Vegas in this very set 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 o'clock Eastern, Wednesday through Sunday, I should say. Get you ready for the nationwide racing. No better horse racing show on the books than our guy, Ralph Sirocco. JR got it right. So JR bounces back, takes a one-game lead on Nick, entering the midway point of the month tomorrow. So looking forward to that here on the show. All right. That's what we got for you. We're back on a Thursday loaded show tomorrow. Ed Fang will join us. The Power Rank, one of the best to do it. We'll talk NFL props. And our guy, Vegas Matty, will give you an update on the contests across town on the show tomorrow as well. Shout out to the crew, Ryan, Ann, Vince, Jerry, Drew Dog, Sean. Thank you all as always. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you again tomorrow right here. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio, live as always from the South Point Hotel and Casino here in Las Vegas, Nevada.